Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Human Among Humans, Michael Koran's show. And each week at this time, Michael Koran does this show to do what? Tell us what we're going to do with your show.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about my father in preparation for Father's Day.
When is Father's Day?
Father's Day is the 16th of June.
Sunday,
Yes.
the 16th of June in
Yes.
2019?
Yes.
Okay. And so Michael has asked me, and I to interview him about his father, and I'd really like to do that because I'd like to get to know your dad better. I'd like to get to know the scion of this one of my best friends. So, when was your father born? When did he pass away?
He was born in 1915 in Brooklyn, New York, and passed away in 1996.
At the age of
80.
80. And you told me that he was a fireman, at least for part of his life.
Yes.
And what did that mean to you as a little boy?
Oh, I loved it. I took it as natural as kids do.
Oh, just everybody does this.
Yes, my dad was my dad was home all the time. Because not all the time, but he might work 2 nights a week and 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the time he was home. If he sometimes he taught as a substitute in high school to save money to send his children to college.
So you guys had time to play together, to talk? Was he a big talker?
No,
not so much.
That was hard. I kind of made conversation. Hey, Dad, Jackie Robinson stole home again, but it was like trying to get his attention. That was not. There wasn't a natural flow. I once told him when I was about 18, when we were shopping for sport coats, I don't like the way I look, Dad. He said, "Oh, don't talk that way. You're looking fine." So that was not helpful.
Wasn't what you needed.
No, I needed so much. Maybe it was good that he didn't open that up.
Maybe it was good that he wasn't brutally honest in his own way. But so you had time to spend with your dad. So if you weren't in conversation, what did you do?
He must have played minimum 1,000 games of chess with me.
Oh.
And we could connect. That was very, although we didn't touch, it was very touching. We're sitting across away from each other with a little chessboard between us.
Looking at the game?
Yep.
Studying the moves?
Yeah, not looking at each other. It was comforting. And somehow he wanted to do this 1,000 times with me. Played maybe 4 games with my brother, who was 2 years younger than I.
So what was your age when he started playing with you?
I think I might have been 5.
Oh. So did he clean your clock?
No, he spotted me a queen.
I see. So he took his queen off. The most powerful piece on the board he took away.
So I won maybe 99% of the games.
Really?
Yes. Well, queen.
Wow.
Queen is a big handicap.
Still, if you don't know what you're doing, then...
Well, you get the basic moves down, so you have an extra queen. Yeah. Eventually, when I got to be about 10, he took off just the castle. And then eventually, as I was telling you, playing at my grandmother's the weekend she died, we played even when I was an adult.
But if I recall, you didn't remember who won that game.
No, but I remember I loved experimenting and being wild.
Oh, right.
And he was his conservative self. Probably won. I didn't care. I just loved being... And it just felt so comforting to feel that physical presence, just, a chessboard away from each other. And that was allowed.
We've never played chess. We should play a game once.
I'd love to. I
All
have
right.
a timer now
Okay.
because I don't have the patience for
For the long win.
no 10
Yeah.
minutes each.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Okay. All right. You're on. So you had this very formative experience of playing chess with your dad, hundreds, thousands of times. And did you learn how to be, did that playing chess teach you some important things about life? Playing chess with your dad?
I don't think so, alas. Except for the comfort of feeling, and I wasn't even conscious of that. I would cry when I lost, even though I won over 99% of the games. And my mother would say, "Mikey's crying again, Charles." And he wouldn't defend me and say,
Well, what was your age when you were crying?
oh, maybe from 5 to 15. Maybe 13. Maybe.
Yeah, losing at chess, it is traumatic.
But
Can be.
That would have been helpful, but men didn't know that then. My son, it's okay if you cry. Don't be afraid of your feelings. But he was himself. That's how he made it through the world. Wouldn't have had food at the table if he got in touch with his feelings.
So, well, as we were talking before the show, I find myself, and stop me if I'm getting way ahead of the game, but that he, as I understand from you, was so unwilling to go there into depth with you, to talk about deep things, that even at his dying, he didn't want you to come visit, or any of your siblings. Is that right?
Yes.
And that you happened to be in the city, in New York, in Brooklyn, and you... Well, why don't you tell the story?
Well, my friend Wendy said, since he doesn't want to see you, the only way, tell him you're going to be in the city and you'd like to stop by. And he said, fine. We planned to meet at Wednesday. And he died on Monday before that Wednesday. My brother Scott said at the funeral, Dad would do anything to avoid an intimate conversation. Because that was just too hard for him. His last words...
Is reported to you by someone?
No, to me.
Oh.
His last words to me, I'm sorry. I said to him, I call up and I say to his woman friend, I've got good news. And alas, she says to Charles, my dad, somewhat sarcastically, your son says he has good news, because he was dying. And I said, Dad, I got a condo for Mom. She'll have a place to live in my building. I'll be able to take care of her. And I think his last words to me were, that's a load off your mind. I don't think he said it's a load off my mind. And so he was in some ways thinking of me. Wow, I guess that makes it a little easier for you, Michael, that you can take care of your mom, which is very touching.
Now, did she ever have that? Did you ever do that?
Yes, I had bought it.
Okay.
I had bought it 2 days before he died.
And so she lived there for a while?
Yes.
Okay. So, your dad and your mom, as I understand from you, never divorced, even though they went on to have other relationships? Is
Yes,
that so?
my father went to live with a woman in Brooklyn. He met at a yoga camp.
At a yoga camp?
Yep.
And your mama did yoga too?
Yes, yoga really saved my family.
Huh.
And my youngest brother brought that into the family. And, you know, he was a hippie at Antioch in Ohio. And my father met this woman there. And according to her, I'm sure this is true, he just showed up at her door and said, "Hi, I met you at the yoga camp. Can I come up and say hello?"
So, completely apart from the yoga camp.
Yeah.
He just showed up.
She lived, life works this way.
Yeah.
In my family, she lived within walking distance of where he grew up.
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
Near the Williamsburg Bridge. And he would visit his mother, my grandmother, and then go visit her. And did it for many years, just seeing her on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "If you don't come and live with me, I'm going to go around the world. You'll miss me for a year." And so he eventually went to live with her. And still stayed married to my mother.
And they were all aware of each other, is that right?
He did not tell his new woman friend Helen that he was also still making love with my mother. Or meeting her. He didn't tell her that. But this was a secret that was not a secret, just he didn't officially tell her this.
Well, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? I don't even know what to call it. I mean...
Open marriage. But it wasn't quite open.
It wasn't quite open because it wasn't quite...
Shared.
Right.
And
not full disclosure.
And he cheated on Helen with many other women, too.
Oh, really? Well, what do you think about that?
Well, he looked like a dandy. He had these whiskers that came to the side of his face and then a long band of hair to his mustache. So, I mean, the saddest thing was that Helen didn't take us in. Sometimes new women...
I'm sorry, what? Helen didn't take you in?
Take the children in.
Meaning she did not...
Take us, you're Charles' children, I love you.
Yeah.
That was hard for her.
Did not take you into her heart.
Right, or very hard for my younger brother who was living with my father in New Jersey at the time. That my father didn't even invite my younger brother to Thanksgiving with Helen. So that was the hard part. I was extremely bothered as a child when women would call the home when my mother was away for the summer.
When you were a child, 5, 8,
No,
10?
about 15 or 16. Okay. Very bothered by that.
So other women, not your mother, would call asking for him.
For him. And somehow I got their number and I would call one of them about 100 times and hang up. It was my way of... I once left a note on the door, "Did you have a good date, Dad?" When my mother was away. He never responded. My father wouldn't respond to that.
Did you think what he did was wrong?
I was just too pained to even go there. To think.
Do you think now that what he did was wrong?
Wow. Well, I learned, this is our family. My dear beloved mother would tell me that your dad left the condom in the back seat of the car. I know men do this, but they should at least clean up after themselves. Sharing this with, a young adolescent.
I can imagine that you were, that was upsetting for you, and you demonstrated a perfect example of how it upset you in the way that you that you called this woman like 100 times and then hung up. So you...
But never directly, we did not directly talk about these things.
Which is why I'm very interested in, what you think about it now that you are almost his age when he passed away.
Yes, I think of that too.
Do you think what he did was wrong? Do you think what he did was unfair? Do you think that it was unfair to you as a child, to your brothers and sisters, to...
I never think in those terms. Thank you for those questions. I just think it hurt. I think it made me think sex was traumatic. I didn't begin when I touched women in my 20s. I felt nothing for many reasons. This might have been one of them. So I didn't start becoming a lover till I was 30. So this must have contributed to that. I became very spiritual.
And now, now you are still very spiritual, and your spirituality has grown. But have you ever judged your father? It doesn't sound like, from your language, it does not sound like you are judging him. It's more like you're describing him. You're describing what happened. You're describing how you felt about it then. But it's not clear to me how you feel about it now.
I do for more years than I could count. In some ways, my whole life since I left home. So over almost 60 years. For a long time, I felt an axe attack me. My father was a fireman. And really attack my body.
So I don't know what that means exactly.
I imagine
in your imagination.
Yes, I imagined in my mind that an axe would attack me. I felt chop off my neck in my mind daily.
But do you know why?
My guess is that it was a very painful marriage, my mother and father.
Mm-hmm. Was it a loud marriage? Did they fight?
Eventually, but not at the beginning. Eventually, my father told me, I started fighting with your mother when you were 15. These are his words, because I wanted to show you that a man should stand up for himself.
When did your father start, for lack of a better word, philandering? When did he start cheating on your mother?
I think I eventually found out that my mother stopped sleeping with him and started sleeping in a separate room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I believe he even might have said I had to do something to remain sane. He might have told me that.
So, when do you imagine that was? When you were 15?
No, less, I think 12.
Uh-huh. Has that kind of behavior had and again, I don't quite know how to ask this, but has it influenced your life or in the way that you are in relationship with others?
Well, as I said, I didn't start making love till I was 30. My father's very succinct sexual advice was, I'm not defending this, forgive me, Mike, you're never responsible for a woman's pleasure. Which was very freeing, actually, when I did start making love. I said, oh, I just have to think about what I feel like doing. I'm not responsible. If I had to think I was responsible, I would have been even harder.
Okay. Well, I don't know if that's if you think of that as a life lesson or not, but before this show is over, and we have about 7 minutes or so, I would love to know what life lessons your father has given to you. If you could, so I don't know if that one was one or not, but having lived a life with your father and his influence and his way of living, if he were here right now in this studio,
yes,
what do you imagine he would tell you? So Michael Koran, this is the last time you're going to hear my voice in this world.
Jeez.
In the next world, we can have as long a conversation as you want, but right now I have just these few minutes remaining, and this is what I want you to know. This is how to live.
He told me, I'm answering somewhat indirectly, But he told me repeatedly that a boy becomes a man when he loses his first illusion. Which is strange.
Did you have illusions about your dad?
Oh, wow. I loved him till I was 16, and then there's the famous Mark Twain quote you're probably familiar with.
Go ahead.
At 16, Mark Twain said, I discovered what an idiot my father was. But at 21, I was amazed at how much the old man learned in 5 years. So that is true for me. I was angry at my father, for not being the ideal that I thought he was. And then I'm so grateful for him. And as you said, imagine he's here now. I'm so grateful that you stayed with our very painful family and helped bring me up. That was such a gift to me, that you were there.
That you were there in the household until you went off to college.
Yes. That would have been impossible just living with either one of them.
Well, at least with your dad you could play chess.
And handball. 1,000 games of handball.
Whoa!
And he played lefty.
Yeah? So what's that mean? I've never played, so does that mean you complement each other on the court, or what?
Well, your right hand is your strong hand.
Yeah.
So if he practiced, because he liked handball, playing lefty.
Yeah.
So I could win again. Most of the games.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
I even went on the handball team in high school. Got a minor letter.
So your dad was had a physical nature as well as an intellectual.
Yes, being a fireman, he was.
Yeah. So life lessons from your dad. What are they? 1, 2, 3.
Well, his greatest gift to me was...
And if you could possibly sum it up into a sentence. Michael, do this.
Michael, I want you to be free. To do what you want to do, even if it pains me. I think that was the great, great gift, which I don't think all parents give to their children. As I told you, when I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore and wanted to study philosophy, I came home and said, Dad, I want to study philosophy. That didn't make sense to him. He grew up in the Depression. And he did not tell me not to. I mean, it's ridiculous that he wanted me to be a lawyer. I couldn't have. I had so many troubles. And when I wanted to become a Catholic, I tell him this as we're walking home from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. We had happily, as a family, saw our own family in that painful play. And I tell him I want to be a Catholic. And as I told you in our green room, he told me, why do you have to do that? Why can't you just believe it? I said, Dad, I have to be who I am. And he goes into his room for 7 days and speaks to no one. He's sitting Shiva.
It's as though you died.
Yes. And yet comes out of the room on New Year's Eve. His fireman friends are visiting. They're Jewish, like we are. And he wants them to talk to me, and they do.
Oh, to try to keep you from...
Yes, but they respect me, too. They try to convince me not to. And because they can accept and respect me, it helps them do the same. And he never tells me. He never tells me not to do anything. He wants me to be free. That is a great gift even with me now. And has been with me always. Not always consciously. For better and worse. At the end of his life, he gives me this gift. He tells me, I've told you this many times, that when I was a baby and they only wanted to feed me at the end of every 4 hours.
Got 2 minutes.
Yeah. He said we would force feed you because you'd refuse to eat after 4 hours. And he at least tells me this. He who doesn't usually share things. And it helps me understand that event, which I can have felt in my life, experienced in my life. That has been a great gift to help me understand myself. He who really didn't usually share these things.
Well, sounds like he gave you your freedom.
Yes. He did say when his fireman friend said, I hope Michael is as good a man as you. And good old Dad, you say, he better be a better man than me or else I haven't done my job.
Well, with a minute remaining and with 2 weeks remaining before Father's Day, are you going to do another show next week on your father, do you think?
Yes, Tony, my friend Tony's coming in.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about our fathers.
Okay. So this is a preview then, I guess, of next week, which is a preview of Father's Day the following week. Are you going to do a show on Father's Day
I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to be doing a show at Somerville Cable Access Television.
Mm-hmm.
Some friends and I are going to be telling stories about our father.
Uh-huh. And when will that be?
That'll be the Tuesday after this coming Tuesday.
Okay, so the Tuesday before Father's Day.
Yeah.
So you can tune away for half an hour or an hour at the most from CCTV and tune back after that show is over. So thank you for joining us